Welcome back to the Manor. Julian McBain here, and today we are going to be doing a 50 PED, or thereabouts, hunt of Qaffaz, and see how we do. Managed to remember to clear all of my bags of extraneous equipment. I only have the standard stuff on me, so we know where we're starting from. But as we get started, if you're new to the channel, welcome to the Manor. Please make sure you take a moment and subscribe down below. We are on the road to 13 million subscribers, one subscription at a time, so make sure you subscribe. Okay, so I don't think I've actually ever done a controlled cost hunt on Toulon. And we're using Bukin's spare rifle, which is what I've been hunting with here all along, for the most part. Mostly because it's fairly high efficiency. And I'm using the Tyrellian armor from Cyrene. So, this ought to be interesting. I don't believe I've done a controlled cost hunt on this planet before. Although I'm doing pretty well. I'm pretty close to breaking even for each round of ammo I do. So, we'll see how this goes. And I've gotten used to hunting Qaffaz. I mean, their mechanics are fairly simple to, fairly similar to most EU mobs. They don't have an aggressive aggro range. In fact, they have a rather passive aggro range, which suits their level. Unlike the bots, say on Cyrene, which have an extremely aggressive aggro range. But they do reasonable damage. A player that's brand new could do a decent job hunting them, I believe, using a TT gun. I haven't used the Toulon weapons yet. I think that'll be a video. Those will be some videos coming up, just to see how well they do. But using the equipment I'm used to using gives us a good baseline to figure out how well things are going to go. And yeah, it's probably been months. Not probably, it has been months since I've done an actual controlled cost hunt. Usually I just set myself out here and hunt for a few hours and then be done with it. I say be done with it, it's usually because I'm watching something. Primarily Star Trek, of course, because what else would I watch? Some anime. I've really come to enjoy Toulon. I have. And I know I've mentioned it before, but I really have come to enjoy Toulon. I think that given the time to just spend on a planet, every planet has its draw. Every planet has something that makes you just kind of want to set up a mailbox. You know, for Calypso, Calypso's kind of the central planet. It's got a huge amount of content to offer. It's got all of the markets, and you don't have to travel to resupply, right? For Cyrene reminds me of a frontier setting. Like a harsh, austere, what's the word I'm looking for? For lack of a better term, a savage place to live. It reminds me a lot of living in Montana. The place feels like the environment could kill you. And I don't know if that was Team Cyrene's plan, but spending most of, honestly, to be fair, I spend most of my time either on the ice steppes or up in the highlands. Or ice plateau, I should say, or up in the highlands. And those, of course, are going to be the rougher areas. I've also been in the desert and the remains of the city that is where the Tyrellians are originally from, the Dusters currently occupy. I believe that's where the Tyrellians are originally from, if I remember the lore correctly. And then you have Next Island, which is a resort. A resort with monsters. But a resort, and frankly, I can't think of a better way to improve upon a resort, but give you something to, hunt. But it's a resort, so the visuals are extremely attractive. and it has the feel of like a South Seas getaway, you know. It just has this relaxing feeling to it. Now, I've never been to ancient Greece, so I can't say much about that. But that's the overall feel of the rest of the planet. It had a very slow, a slow living feeling, if that makes any sense. It's like, this is like what life would be like living in Hawaii or in Micronesia, where you kind of just, you do your job, but you just abide, right? The weather's always nice. It hardly ever rains, and yet everything is flourishing. Or if it does rain, it rains when it cools off at night. Or maybe there's a monsoon season. But it's like living life relaxed is the impression I get from it. Arcadia's a bit harder. And it's been a while since I've been there. I would have to say, if anything, Arcadia feels like a place where, frankly, it kind of reminded me of Starship Troopers in a lot of ways. Because it looks like, it's almost like a military beachhead. You've got the fire bases, you've got the flora and fauna, which are extremely hostile. Treasure Island. That's what it reminds me of, which makes sense considering that's the theme. But for those of you who ever read the original book, Treasure Island was actually a fairly hostile place. Like, the place wanted to kill you. That's why Blackbeard, I think, was the captain that theoretically buried his treasure there. It was a hostile place, and so you went there to find treasure, because that's where treasure was. You know, not as hostile as a place like Cyrene, but more hostile than, say, a next island. Monria is a moon, and that place reminds me of the Badlands. Like, hands down, no holds barred. It's not even, it doesn't even care. It's just inimical, you know? These horrors are coming up out of the ground to eat you because, you know, your sanity fled a long time ago. The Cthulhu mythos is really, really well put together by the Virtue Sense team. They put a lot of time into it, and that time and energy is really reflected in the personality of Monria. I don't even have a good explanation for it. It's just, I can only imagine being someone who grew up on Monria, right? You know, imagine being a Monrian born. And that's all you've ever known. And anything moving that isn't human is out to kill you. And it looks like a Shoggoth. I mean, just horrifying. But the amount of sheer plot they have baked into that moon is insane. And so, although it's not as visually attractive as any of the other planets, which I know Monria is technically a moon, kind of like Arcadia moon, but bear with me. The feel of it is very authentic. And I found myself absorbed in it. You know, I felt like when I went out to hunt Shoggoth, it was to keep them from getting into the base. You were doing it to keep the population down. And Cthulhu just kept feeding the population. Right? Just kept feeding it. Because that's what kept its horrific self going. I've never really been to Rocktropia, so I don't have a good feel for it, but I've seen some videos of it, and it just, frankly, America in the 80s. That's all I got to say. I look at Rocktropia, I see the videos of Rocktropia, and the only thing I can think of is America in the 80s. Okay? The hair. I just get these images of big hair everywhere. Because for those of you who don't know, for those of you who were born in the 90s and later, right? 80s hair bands were a thing. Okay? Look up Poison. Look up John Bon Jovi. Hair bands were a thing. And the thing is that the hair was more important than the music. You could find a band that put out music, but they had the hair, they were famous. That's all it took. And that brings us to Toulon. This planet, I don't have a good feel for. Like, it's supposed to be Journey Through the Sands. So when I came here, I was expecting a very desert environment, almost like a Tatooine, right? What I got instead was a shock. And I'm not saying it's a bad shock. It was actually a very pleasant surprise. The vastness of the lake, the intricacy of the dam, the sea, or pond, or whatever the hell you want to call it. They did a phenomenal job on such a small space. And there are things I haven't seen yet. There are all kinds of things I haven't seen yet. I really need to do more time up here. I have been around here a lot. This is the volcano area. This might be a place that I do a controlled cost hunt in the near future, because I want to explore some of the biomes. I've been doing a lot here with the Qaffaz because I've been plowing through the Codex mission. But I've got other things I've been hunting. Like I've hunted, I hunted a little bit of Dahar, the tabs. And I'll show you the one massive boss tab that hangs out like above here. It's just, it's kind of dumb actually. I'm like, oh, I'm hunting tabs. Why did I die? Okay, so I respawned and I ran back up. It's like, oh, that one's level 80, not level 1. Yep, that happened. That happened. I was unimpressed. Funny in hindsight, but at the time I was really unimpressed. No. What are you doing? Thank you. So far, so good. The loot's looking okay. We haven't quite used our first 10 PED. We've got 289, 340, 4. Yeah, we've probably lost about half a PED, which isn't terrible. We're going to get some back on the conversion. And I know that I'm kind of due for a couple days of losses because I had like an 80 PED global off one of these things yesterday. It was crazy. I was actually really impressed. Like, normally when you're fighting a level 2 or level 3, you know, it's like global, oh, I got 15 PED, or I got 20 PED, or if it's a really nice one, I got 25 PED. No, 80 PED. I'm like, oh! If I had thought about it, I would have taken a screenshot. I couldn't believe it. What are they talking about? Oh, it must be a sword. Because, you know, why else would you be talking about weapons? It's always about swords. I shouldn't say that. Actually, speaking of swords, I've been talking about fencing a lot lately. Unsurprising. I'm really beginning to miss it. Who am I fooling? I've been missing it for a year. You know, I will admit that's the benefit to being into shooting sports as well. See, fencing, you have to be in close contact with people. But when you're doing shooting sports, social distancing is really easy. Because the range master doesn't have to be close to you. I mean, I've got a private range, but even if you're going to a public range, you can spread out, especially when you're on rural ranges, which are really open field. Social distancing is easy. You stay with your own group, people from your own household or pod, and you fire at the targets, and then you walk out onto the range, you check the targets, do all the normal safety stuff. You never walk out on the range when the range is hot. Make sure everyone's got their weapons safetied and unloaded before walking out into the fire zone. Check your targets, swap targets if necessary. You can chat with each other at a decent distance. It's a really COVID safe sport to be in. And I've actually probably burnt more ammo during the time of COVID than I have in the previous 2 years because of that. Because you can safely do it in a time of plague where you've got to take extra precautions. It's easy to social distance when you're out in a field and you're firing at targets. But I do miss the adrenaline and the exhaustion and the exercise and the challenge of having an opponent set the standard. I mean, you can do competition shooting, and it's like who can get closer to the bullseye. But while precision shooting does take an immense amount of skill, the only way that your opponent can prevent you from hitting your target is by shouting at you as you squeeze the trigger, right? Which, if you've ever done shooting sports, is considered extremely bad form and can get you bounced off a range. It is the height of etiquette breach, other than a lack of safety protocol. Muzzle controls, trigger discipline, things like that. Beyond those, deliberately distracting someone while they're shooting is a severe breach of etiquette. And so it comes straight down to raw skill in hitting the target. And there is a lot of fun in that, but I find there's also a lot of fun in having my opponent be a factor, and that's just an impossibility in shooting sports. There is no way to have that be a factor and have the word safety be involved. That would not be something that I would be willing to do. Now, paintball and airsoft, absolutely. And I guess you could classify those as shooting sports, but I don't really, because whenever I think shooting sports, I think of firearms. But paintball is hyper expensive. Like, I remember back when we were playing paintball regularly, it's $20 a box for paintballs. And one box loads your hopper once. Because those hoppers take actually, no, that's not true. Most hoppers took 50 or 60 rounds, if I remember correctly. Whereas a box of paintballs is 200. But we go through 10 boxes easy in a day with everyone paintballing. Now, admittedly, that wasn't just one family paying for it, right? This was 10 years ago. 12 years ago. Jesus, it was 12 years ago. It would be all our family friends. So you're talking 5 or 6 families got together at a time. And so you're talking 6 or 7 adults and 3, 4, 5, 7, up to 10 kids. So, we could have as many as 20 of us out on the field. Split into even groups, capture the flag, or domination, where you just, wipe out the other team. And it's a lot of fun. But that's an expensive sport. Good grief. and I tried airsoft. Airsoft, the equipment is more expensive, but the ammo's dirt cheap, right? The little 6mm plastic pellets, BBs that they use, dirt cheap and biodegradable, so you don't have to worry about losing them. Um, the downside to that is it's not as prolific as paintball, and 6mm BBs do not travel nearly the distance of a paintball. Like, you can shoot a paintball and have it go 100 meters. You shoot it right. 50 meters is really where you're at. An airsoft BB, if you're hitting at 15 meters, you're lucky. That's not even skill. That's just sheer luck. I might be overestimating the length. No, because I mean, we were firing across the field, and that field's got to be 50 meters across, down by where we were fighting. Because yeah, it's 100. The max range at the range is 100 meters. The backstop is where the foxhole fortification used to be. And it's got to be almost the same distance to the circle. So yeah, no, it might be as much as 100 meters across. And I mean, we were shooting paintballs across that field at each other. Now, they're not very accurate at maximum range. You know, there was some elevation firing going on. Usually you were just trying to keep your opponent's heads down while your friends advanced. But I do vaguely recall them making it that far. I might be misremembering the distances. I'd actually have to go down and measure, and I'm not going to do that during the winter. Especially not with the snow machine trail cutting across it. But I wouldn't be surprised. No, maybe it is only 50 meters. It doesn't matter. Needless to say, I haven't done it in a decade, but those are the things I do miss doing. But I traded that for fencing when it comes to competition, you know, like one-on-one competition. And not being able to do it for over a year really, really impacts a lot. And maybe I didn't quite appreciate how much it impacts until this week. Been talking to some friends I've been out of touch with for a couple of months, all fencers. We're getting ready to spool back up as the virus goes away. You know, we're determining, you know, when can we start opening things up? When will it be safe? Figuring out how to get everyone reauthorized, because there's only a few of us who's so fencing in the SCA, you have authorization cards. You don't need authorization to fight. You do need authorization to fight in tournaments. For lack of a better term, it's like a license, and I don't like that term, but it's as close as you can get. Basically, it's verification that you can be safe on the field while hitting another person with a big metal stick. That you're not going to be a true danger to your opponent. And so there's only a few of us whose authorizations are not going to expire before COVID goes away. Like, mine ends in April of 22. That should be plenty of time for us to be able to get back together and start reauthorizing new people so we can do our own reauthorizations later. And we're re-coordinating stuff like that. But there's a huge logistical concern with it. Because, I mean, think about it. We've all been cooped up for a year, excuse me. Some places more than others. My state has actually been very lucky. We've been fairly open. You know, the governor of my state put out guidelines. Or he put out a mandate and then said that he didn't technically have the authority to put out a mandate, so they were actually guidelines. Which is true. That is true. But Vermonters have held to them for the most part. And because of that, we've been able to remain fairly open. And so we were lucky. Some states not so much. But as things start to open up, as the lockdowns start to go away, as life starts to return to something resembling normal, we're putting together what we need in order to get things going again. And it's a long process. I mean, when you've been on furlough for a year, like my last event was 1 year ago next week. And it wasn't even a fighting event. My last fighting event was a year ago, January. But my last event, I think, was... Yeah. It was a year ago next weekend. Not this coming weekend, but the one after it. It was an event called Mimmer's Well, and I spent the entire event in the kitchen. And I actually got my most recent fencing award at that event. In fencing, we have in the SCA there are 3 levels of awards, and it's award of arms, grant of arms, and patent of arms. And whenever you move kingdom, there's usually a process of going back through. If you're not a patent of arms, which is recognized worldwide, you oftentimes go back through the ranks. And I was only an award of arms to begin with, but I received my East Kingdom award of arms just before we had to lock everything down. In fact, it was literally the week before they announced the beginning of quarantine. You know, because we all went to Mimmers, we were taking precautions. This is before masking was known to be, well, apparently the powers that be knew that you were supposed to mask, but it was before masking was ordered. And we had our event, and it was a great time. You know, stressful. I've never been in the kitchen at an event before, and I wasn't the one running the kitchen. My friend was, and she runs a good kitchen. She runs a solid kitchen. We ran out of food. That's how, like, I think there were fewer people there than the year before, and we ran out of food. That was nuts. We'll take one more. I should have made this a 25 PED. Good grief. No, we'll keep going. We'll keep powering through. Maybe we'll do a 25 PED run. I was hoping to do a 50, but I forgot how little Bukin uses for ammo. Stop being so efficient. So I spent the whole event in the kitchen, and we're prepping food, like from the time we get there to court, right? So we lay out the spread, all the food goes out, and the food gets wiped out by the guests in under 10 minutes, or 10 or 15 minutes. Like, we're throwing trays out as fast as we can go. And we had to send people to the store for more. We just could not believe it. We went through 4 honey baked hams. Plus a whole bunch of side dishes. It was nuts. Oh yeah, we did a day board too. So there was food there. We put out feast. And we went through so much food. It was a good time. And I really miss that stuff. I do. I'm seriously looking forward to it in the future. You know, guys, we might call this a 20 PED. Wow, that's not what I was expecting. Sorry about that. That's not what my plan was. My plan was to do 50, but I try to keep these videos to around half an hour. And it's been so long since I've done one of these, I forgot how ammo efficient Bukin's spare rifle is, because it is. It's just insanely efficient when it comes to ammo, which is why I use it. I'll sit out here with the Bukins all day long, and you'll get 3 or 4 hours worth of hunting before you use up its entire 10.5 PED TT value. Go back and repair, rinse, repeat. But it's just insanely efficient. So, and we'll see how we did. I actually think we did okay. I'm not sure we came out in the money, but I think we did okay. So we'll see what happens. Okay, so that'll be the last one. Let's pull out our Sleipnir. And we'll head back. Oh, that was a pretty good drop. 30, 50, 77 pack. I won't complain about that being the final drop. So while we're up here, let's do a little bit of math. So we started with 50 PED worth of ammo. We're coming back with 31.1 PED worth of...
Hey, Paul. The fire.
Sorry about that, guys. Got distracted. Okay, so let's see how we did. Okay. Bring her in for a landing. We'll check the repair. Okay, so well, actually, you know what? We're doing this backward. Let's do this first. So we have 31.1 PED in ammo left. We got 11.95 in loot. It's 4305, so that's 7 PED down. And I think it was what, 2 and change. 2.9. So 40.96 in total recovery minus 50. So we lost about 9 PED. That's not a great run. Now, admittedly, I've had worse. And the one downside to small runs is that you don't have a good overall feel, because in the next drop you could get a mini. Overall, I think I do pretty well out here, but we're talking 1,000 PED runs with Bukin spare rifle. We'd be here all night. You know, maybe I'll do a live stream at some point. It's been a while since I've live streamed Entropia. I'm currently doing Cyberpunk, but maybe I can do like an off cycle or a break night, and we'll figure that out. In the meantime, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Please like, share, and subscribe down below. We are on the road to 13 million subscribers, one subscription at a time, so make sure you subscribe. Also, go to patreon.com/JulianMcBain if you want to support my work. If you do, you'll get the ebooks, and you'll get exclusive patron-only content. Hey guys, I appreciate all of the support. We'll see you in the next one.